Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Of course, this is the week that our first exam is due, Exam One, and it's going to be, of course, requiring Lockdown Browser. I'll have more information about Lockdown Browser underneath this video here so you know how to open it and make sure it's in use. Lockdown Browser, of course, um, does exactly what it says it's going to do. It locks down your browser so you can't Google the questions, which they're not going to come up, but you can't really Google on the same computer at the same time. But it is open book, so you're able to use the textbook and review that at the same time. It's not going to let you open the online version of the textbook, but if you have an iPad or something, you want to open up the textbook while you're taking the test, you're more than welcome to do that. If you use the online version or if you have a hard copy of the text, that's available too. My recommendation is to print the PowerPoints and have those with you as you take the test. And really, hopefully, you've took notes on the PowerPoints over the last couple weeks that will really help gear you up for the first couple of tests across the board. So this is directly on the chapters that we've reviewed. I verified that with a Cengage text, and we'll make sure, of course, all these questions are straight from Cengage, the textbook infrastructure as well. So I'm going to give you a couple things to study so you know exactly what is going to come up. So this is a study guide, so make sure you take notes here. You can, of course, pause it, rewind it. There's a total of 24 questions, all right, 100 total points. You're going to have more points for short answer and essay. I don't think there's very many essays, not really technically essays, but it's more of statements. They're not. I don't expect paragraphs full of information. So usually one or two sentences. So it's not really a total essay. There's a question that's going to ask you about conflicts of interest or ethical conflicts. That could be a little bit longer than the rest, but there's not a ton in there. All right. So more like statement questions rather than essay questions. All right, here's what I want you to study for the test. Make sure you know what a gatekeeper is. A gatekeeper. Know what laws are. What are laws in general? Know what standard of care is. What is standard of care? Know about kind of what a reasonable person is and what that means. Reasonable person. And that has to do with relationships, right? In healthcare, legal and illegal. What would a reasonable person do? What is a patient bill of rights? A patient bill of rights. All right. Know what a licensure law is. A licensure law. Know what a union is. We didn't really go over that a lot, but make sure you understand what a union is and what a union is used for, how it protects people under employment. Know a little bit about licensing boards. Know what a licensing board is and what it does. Know the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. What is Medicare and Medicaid? Know the difference between civil and criminal law. What's the difference between civil and criminal law? All right. What is a testimony in a trial? A testimony. Make sure you understand what a testimony is. Know about the Constitution. So the document itself, including the preamble. What is the Constitution? What is the Constitution of the United States? Know what a deposition is in a trial. Know the difference in Congress, right? How many voting members there are, how many senators, all that kind of stuff. The House and the Senate. Make sure you know the difference in how many members are in each. Know about statute of limitations. What is the statute of limitations? Know about malpractice insurance. We talked about that a few times. What is malpractice insurance? What does it cover? Know about liability cases. You want to know some examples about a liability case. When providers do a procedure as an example, what could they be liable for? Know about, we talked a little bit about, nonverbal communication. It's a communication trait, but it also can be used with a variety of different things in law and ethics. So, we talked about nonverbal communication from the perspective of law and ethics, and right. So, an example would be you go to get a lab drawn and you pull up your shirt, of course, so they can access your arm to draw blood, that would be consent in some um, legal definition. So understand body language when it comes to that. Not something we spent a lot of time on, but it's something that came up as a Cengage test question. So understand it's very easy, but understand what using body language is in reference to law and ethics. All right, let's see. I'm going to get a couple more questions for you guys to make sure you know about ethical conflicts. I know I mentioned that. That's kind of the longest question here. What are ethical conflicts created by managed care? Ethical conflicts in managed care. We talked about HMOs, right? And managed care organizations. So know about that. Know about the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act. What is the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act? All right. Know about the plaintiff and the defendant in a court case. Know about, and this is really interesting too, know about the standard of proof. I know a lot of you have watched legal cases before, maybe online and such. Make sure that you understand, standard of proof is beyond reasonable doubt. So what is standard of proof? All right, that's a good overview of the test. I don't want to give you everything in here. It's going to be straight out of the textbook. So, just take your time. The challenge is there's only around 24 questions, so if you miss 3 or 4, it's going to impact your grade in a high manner. But just remember, this is only a small percentage of your grade. We have a number of different tests. We have exam 2 and a final exam. So this is going to be the more challenging one because you're just getting used to what the exam questions are going to look like. They build off of each other in exam 2, and they build off of each other even more in the final exam. So don't stress a ton. I think you guys are going to do a good job. A lot of you have really dug into the material, and I think you understand it. So a fairly easy test, only 24 questions. Just make sure you take your time. And of course, we'll work together to make sure that you understand the material moving forward so you're ready for exam 2 as well. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I think you guys are going to do a really good job on this. But there's your study guide. Make sure you understand what we went over, and then take the test and do a great job. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, I know Lockdown Browser can be confusing, so follow the directions below, and we'll make sure, of course, that you're ready to go to take this test. If you run into any challenges with Lockdown Browser 2, please reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. I'll help you get through them. Thanks so much.